you got stuff on the lens there. Thanks for clicking on this video. I'm guessing it's going to be a hell of a long video. So thanks for sticking with me. Yeah, I'll keep this short. But I thought, I've had a couple of people asking this, but I'm planning on doing a little real-time drawing, so you can see the whole process. I'm guessing at the moment it might take like half an hour, maybe even an hour. I don't know. I mean, I might speed some bits up. I mean, some pieces take me like 2-3 hours. I don't think a 2 or 3 hour video would be a good idea. That's a feature film. Hopefully it'll go well, and hopefully it's a good video. Because I'm planning on maybe doing a few of these videos. So I'll do a pixel art one. I might also do another purely digital like painting. But yeah, welcome. Thanks for clicking on the video. Here we go. I've got a bit of a messy desk going on. Unhealthy snacks, sketchbook, we got laptop, we got tea, we got headphones, hella pens, graphics tablet. Look at that wire, there's tape. You can see the wire, it's coming loose. I'll tell you about this process a little bit, I guess. I mean, I use tons of different sketchbooks. There's some more sketchbooks down there. So this is, you know, day in the life, eh? There's the ramen bus. So here you can see I've drawn a few little thumbnails. I sometimes just start drawing and I don't know what I'm even planning, but I'll just start drawing an interesting composition. And then others I'd be like, oh, okay, I want one where there's a guy standing kind of in the foreground. Today's image we're gonna go for is this one. You may be thinking, wow, that's kind of a scribbly mess and can't be that helpful. There were better ones that I saw. You'd be right. I want to sort of look back at one of my old projects, which was all about nomads. The idea basically is just to do some prints. Eventually maybe it will turn into a story, graphic novel, concept art thing, but this is just one of a series of prints that I want to do based on the jungle Nomad. So it's kind of based off like the Amazon jungle / Peru and the temples in the mountains, mixed with other side of the world, the Chinese cormorant fishermen. So I want to tell a sort of strange tale of some jungle boat nomads living in the jungly wilderness. So I thought this would make a good first page, but also would make a good print. I'm going to do the line work with pencils, traditionally on paper. Yeah, so I'm going to scan in the line work and then join you for a real-time video of me colouring it in digitally with my graphics tablet. Whoa! Hi, hey, hello. That was filmed the other day, and now I'm going back to it. Can I just show you this setup I've got going on? So I'm using my iPhone to film this. That's why I keep looking at the camera, at the screen. I'm also over here. Hi. Can you see this setup I got going on? A shoebox, cut a hole, put my camera in there. So now, what I can do is film my page. So that's the setup that we got at the moment. Anyway, I'll show you what it's like from up here now. I might speed through this. Sometimes I don't even film the line art for you, and I know I probably should, but it's because I got to do a setup like this to actually achieve something worthwhile. So it's a little bit tricky. But yeah, let's get on with some line art. Hi, hello. How you doing? I'll just show you a few of my things that I'm going to use for this, and show you how I'm going to set this up a bit, so you can see how I start doing a drawing. Hi, hello. Hello. Little bit condensed here. I showed you earlier this little thumbnail. This one right here. So I then sketched out this little thing. This was completely without any reference. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start drawing in parts. What I tend to do is I treat it a bit like a stage, a bit like a set. So in my head, I sort of split it up into like foreground, middle ground, background. So anyway, yeah, I pretty much primarily
just use a mechanical pencil for this. Now this kind of varies quite a bit, to be honest. I think this is being a bit, I'm exaggerating a bit in the tools that I tend to use when doing a drawing like this. Mechanical pencils are primarily what I use for line work. This is just a standard, like, pretty cheap one. But because I work in an art shop, I branched out and bought this nice weighty metal mechanical pencil. I'll then, because I'm using quite a thin pencil, I will not really use any other pencils other than maybe like a graphite stick like this, good for doing texture. If I'm by chance might be inking or making some lines darker if I'm scanning it in, but I'll probably use a fine liner. At the moment I really like these Sakura micron fine liners. Sometimes I use pen and ink. Then my other go-tos, at the moment I've just discovered this awesome Posca pen. It sort of gives the impression, it has a bit of splatter sometimes, so it gives the impression that you're using a pen and ink without actually using pen and ink. And then, my favourite, I love brush pens, so I've got a lot of brush pens. These ones are great, the Sakura Pigma brush pens, they're super good. I love this one, this is probably my favourite. But Tombow, for doing shading, I'm obsessed with buying grey pens, just for doing shading, shadow, planning, thumbnails. Big fan of grey brush pens. However, having said all that, today I think I'm just going to be using a pencil. This is just some A4 watercolor paper. I don't know why I'm using watercolor paper, to be honest. It's a bit of a waste. I think I bought this because I wanted to try and do a bit of watercolor, and I just haven't yet. But it's good for ink as well. But normally I'll just use like maybe a heavyweight cartridge paper. So I'm gonna look up some reference. I'm gonna look up a few jungly cabins, a few wooden structures. I would recommend going out and getting your own photos. I sometimes look back at my photos from Japan for some cool stuff, and I do like just taking photos of like buildings and things. I'm not going to copy the image at all. It's just to inform some of the the wooden textures, and maybe I'll find some interesting buildings that I can get a few ideas from. Let's start drawing, shall we? Ding. We're changing it up. Welcome. If you stuck with me and you've watched the whole thing and now you're here, congratulations, well done. This is your prize. You get to see me actually drawing and talking live. Well, not actually live, but you know what I mean. Let's get to it. I've scanned in all those drawings that you watched me just sketch out. We've opened up a new canvas. This is like an A3 canvas. I'm just gonna kind of set up how I kind of want them right now. I'm just gonna do a little bit of setting the scene, if you will. Kind of how I envisioned. I might end up sometimes I have these pencil drawings, and then what happens is I realize I don't really like them where they are, where I've wanted them. And I'll change like the whole thing, or I'll paint over it. Sometimes I'll draw over it, or maybe I'll redraw something and scan that in. There's a lot of layers, like sometimes, so I'm just putting them all on the same on the same canvas at the moment, but a lot of this is going to change. Like this bit right now doesn't really matter because a lot of it's going to change probably. So yeah, I guess this is the first part I should mention. We're going to go to adjustments, image adjustments, levels. We're going to make these pencil lines super dark, and we're going to make the background super bright. That looks pretty good to me, doesn't it? There you go. Tip number 1, levels. Get your levels down. So we're getting the line work nice and clean now, but it still withholds, you can see zooming in here, there's still little bits and bobs, sometimes, like for example this bit, I don't want that, but this sketchy line here, I'm going to keep it. Some nice texture going on. So then, as you can see, I also deleted the white background, so you can see it's starting to come together now, because there's so many layers, and because I want it so you're like looking into a jungle. A lot of this is probably going to change. Like I might want to rub out entire sections so you can see the layer behind and stuff like that. That's what I'm thinking anyway at the moment. Dumb bump. So this is the background layer, those trees. This is the far back, so I don't really need to delete the white from that one. But what I am going to do is delete the white from this one. And we're going to see what happens. Whoa, look at that horrible mess. What is going on there? Looks pretty cool though. Because I've got this, this drawing in layers, I tend to add a new layer, get a brush. So at the moment, I've got Carl's brushes. Here's a load of brushes right here that I quite like. There's like in the brush pack, there was like 500 brushes. It was a bit mad. I've sort of condensed it down to about 50, I want to say. Yeah, ish. This was just me. I skimmed through the whole thing, just did a little scribble and chose some nice ones that I liked. So I don't really use all these, to be honest. Here we go. This is one that I'm liking at the moment for colouring, just sort of a standard. Inking, thick and thin. Look at that. So it's like quite a nice brush. But yeah, so as I was saying, so I added a new layer over the top of the line, and I'll seeing as it's in stages, in layers, I'm going to color each layer. So I am going to now just go around the outline of this the building, cover all these leaves and everything that you see. I'm now gonna sort of add color to it. You'll see why in a minute, but yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Hooray! There we go. Cool. So you may have wondered why the hell I just did that. It does technically mean that I spend a little more time colouring in than I'd have to, but watch this. So I put the coloured layer behind, I go to the line work, go down here, change it to colour burn, sometimes multiply, it's a bit more grey on multiply, colour burn, and ta-da! Now you've got a coloured in blank line work that is ready and easy, because I can now select this huge block, and normally I do another layer, add colour, and colour it in without worrying about going towards the lines, going over the lines. I can add any colour I want. That's just a little technique that I do. I mean, some of you may think that's wasting time, because I could have just, you know, coloured in each thing respectively how I want the actual colours to be, and just make sure I don't go over the line. But instead of that, I sort of just add one block. It saves me worrying about little gaps, saves me worrying about the outline, saves me worrying about, you know, going over the edge. It also makes it easy so I can plan out the shapes a little bit easier in blocks. And also, in the end, once I've finished colouring, I can then use this layer of pure green, maybe change it to a different hue or a gradient, and add a colour over the top. So I could overlay this green, see, and I've made that layer greeny. So it helps with lighting as well in the end. So there are a few reasons to do it. It's just the way that I've gotten used to doing it. So yeah, we're going to go ahead, and I'll probably just block out color plans. So for example, down here on this layer, we're going to have the water swampy. I mean, sometimes then I'll also add a background layer, so I get a general idea for the colors that I want. Will it be dark at the bottom or dark at the top? These are all questions I'm proposing you. So see now, like, I've added this background, but because of my block of green, I now don't have to worry about it sort of messing up. You know, it's all good. It's all helpful. So here I'm now gonna color burn that background. I'm gonna probably merge these a little better. You can see sort of like how, so now these leaves are way in the foreground. I need to do a few more leaves on this side maybe. We'll see how it goes. Because we've got these as well, it's gonna get a little bit messy, because I don't want to cover up it all. Maybe what we'll do, okay, we're gonna work forward. I've done this foreground, and I know that this is gonna be in the far foreground, but with something like this is more about detailing and adding leaves to the front. So I think I'm going to work my way back to front now. We're going to get rid of this building from the front, cover that up. I'm gonna do the same thing again as I did with the building, but I'm gonna do it to these trees. Again, this is just me blocking out where I want to colour. So it doesn't even necessarily even mean that this is going to stay this colour at all. Chances are it's going to change wildly. But I'm just going to block out some of the shapes to give future Harry an easier job of colouring. So yeah, so here you go. This is it for the time being. I'm going to have to block all these out. I might just say goodbye here, carry on filming until I'm ready to show you the next part. Bam, bam, bam. See, it can't be real time. This is going to take forever to edit. Forever. Stick around. I'll see you in a bit. Greetings, welcome back. Yeah, so, okay, so this next part, I recorded, and I didn't realize, but I didn't record the audio. Isn't that great? So I filmed this whole segment, this whole hour-long bit, arguably the main part of this video, and I recorded the whole thing, and there's no sound. So that's really infuriating, and I'm sorry about that. So I'm going to do my best, really, to talk over this video and tell you what I'm doing. So, I mean, for starters, this drawing has been a bit difficult to actually talk about and draw. It wasn't really great, to be honest. It's like probably the hardest example of the Nomad type work that I've been doing that I could have chosen, because there's so many plants in the background. I got a little bit carried away, and I basically started properly colouring in the background, even though I tried to keep it, kind of simple, just blocking out shapes. But you get sort of stuck in it, like, because it's so leafy and complicated. You sort of you get carried away with doing all the details. But anyway, I did my best, so I stopped it there, and I'm going to now focus on drawing the details and colouring for the cabin down the front. I'm sort of also explaining now this process as well. So basically what happened is I ended up kind of cutting some of the line work into parts. So for example, the foreground, I cut up into, I think, into two pieces. So I sent some of it back, some of it behind the other layers, and I kept some of the line work for the front. You can see me there showing kind of what's been blocked out in colour, and where the line work is and how much is covered by that. And for example here, so this is a segment that I've cut out and pushed back, just to add a bit more texture and to make it easier for myself and for it to make sense. But here you go. I'm going to start now drawing this, the colour and the detail for this cabin. God, I'm really annoyed with myself that I didn't record the audio. I should have if I just looked at this microphone, I would have seen the light wasn't on and I could have stopped myself. But oh well, here we go. So yeah, as you already know, I've got that whole layer of colour blocked out underneath this drawing of the house. So I've selected that, and I am now adding another layer, a third layer above it, and that allows me freedom to sort of just wildly sketch out some colours, and that is what I'm doing. I'm sort of just, I'm playing around with colours, I'm trying things out, seeing what works. I've got a general idea of the colours I want to use. This is a lot of greens, and earthy colours. For some of my Nomad projects, the colour palettes came easy to me because of the environment that they were based on. So, in the desert Nomad, a lot of oranges, reds, yellows, browns. In the mountain Nomad, there's a lot of whites and blues and purples. So in this one, it's a bit like the ocean boat Nomad in a way, but less blues, more greens, and more earthy colours, I think. So yeah, I'm just thinking about that. I'm just blocking in a few areas, when there's wood, adding some wood colours, just seeing how it goes, really. I guess the fact that I've lost the audio is a bit of a blessing, though, because I was rambling on and I had a lot of parts where I was just saying nothing. So I might still speed some of these bits up. But you can see I'm just sort of blocking it out right now. I have a general idea
general idea of where I'm going with it. Some of the small, it can be quite easy to experiment with color with stuff like this because there's so much small detail. You can pretty much choose any color because it's so small. Apart from like the big areas of like wood, you you can sort of just you can get away with lots of stuff. I think in this bit I was talking about my process of like designing like fantasy fictional story worlds. I've added this like little sign, that's just randomly there, kind of I guess half inspired by like Incan like hieroglyph type things and symbols. But yeah, I think I'm just talking about world building here. So me messing around with the idea of when this is set, where is it set? Is it on Earth? Is it in the future, in the past? I like combining like different things, different cultures from around the world, different time periods. So it's like kind of tribal story, but also like with elements from modern day. Like there's a satellite on the roof and like fans. So me messing around with that. Similar thing with like all the giant statues I sometimes draw in my work and in the Nomad project especially. Just the idea of like there has been civilization and culture and it's a very lived in old world, but there's a new world here as well that people surviving. That's kind of like the general theme of the Nomad project as well. It's like kind of a vision of the future where maybe it's a little bit like post apocalyptic. So we've had kind of a bit like I guess Horizon Zero Dawn. They're in a far future where it's been the apocalypse, the end of the world, but they've got crazy technology, but it's like humans have died out, so now it's like a new wave of humans that are like essentially like cavemen but with hyper technology. Not as crazy as that, I feel. Mine's a bit simpler, maybe just like a future where we've all resorted back to nomadic tribes and cultures. Yeah, I mean, a lot of this thing I sort of go full silent when I'm coloring this, so I might like speed bits up. I might also, cut ahead to a few bits. I think this part I'm talking to you about color again. I'm like trying out different colors for materials. You got to be quite careful. I tend to keep things kind of muted, even when there's a bright color like that yellow or that blue. It's still kind of muted in a way. I'm blocking in the shadow, like I'm keeping it dark inside the building. Sometimes I do this as well, so it's still quite blocky, my painting right now. So that fabric is just one block of blue, and the sort of fabric over the door is like one shade of like cream. But I will sometimes sort of combine colors. So I want this sheet to be, white, cream, but I'll add a few different shades and darker ones and lighter ones to it to sort of add to the texture of it. Oh yeah, I think this bit I was thinking about, again, like world building. So and making things look real, even if they're fantastical. I mean, this is not that a fantastical image, to be honest. It looks like quite a real, little funky, maybe fictional, but not too crazy. It's quite grounded in reality. But yeah, I was just sort of thinking about this world building. So, nomadic tribes, they've clearly made this house themselves, whoever lives here. So there's wood being made, wood that's been got from the trees and plants around them. But it's a bit ramshackle. It's a bit like put together. I like the idea of they built one part and then they needed to add an extra room or on the top, and so it's a bit like higgledy-piggledy. I've never used that expression before. It's like a key part is the detail. I think like adding the little details, the little hints of like how they live. Hints in the architecture and the technology, modern day, past, future, whatever, little elements sort of add to the drawing. Oh yeah, I'll also be looking, at I got to zoom out sometimes and look at the wider picture. Judge whether the colors are working with the background. Obviously, in the end, the background will also have the same level of detail as the foreground. So it doesn't really work well together at the moment. The front does look better than the back at the moment. I might end up speeding through the background as well, and just show you how I do the process for the building, because that's arguably the most interesting part. And then speed up the ending, and then I'll join you at the end. I'll join you at the end for doing the final bits, the final lighting and atmosphere editing, and sort of like maybe the editing of the line work that I sometimes do at the end. Yeah. So I'm just colouring, adding stuff, adding texture to the woods. I mean, I didn't actually do a lot of talking in this bit. I sort of zoned out. This whole bit took me about an hour, to be honest, this colouring. So you can see how long it takes me. There's a bit where I struggle. I'm thinking about colouring underneath the building, sort of where the boardwalks are and like on top of the trees, and it's by the water. But I want it to be dark, but I'm not at the shadow and lighting part yet. So I think I decided on just to do a dark green colour underneath. But all the stilts and the bits of wood that are holding up this house are also quite difficult, like to make sure you get the detail in of them. So yeah, that was quite difficult. I then also, I think I colour the objects as well at some point. I spend a while doing that. That was quite tricky. So I have to select each of the little objects, like the boat and the boxes in the front, and then add the colour to them. Okay, here I'm just sort of adding the colour to the objects, like I said, colouring in the boat and the little bird there, and the little objects on the boardwalk, and then finally adding a bit of detail to the material. I finally then start doing the shadows. So I add that extra layer on top. It's on top of the line work as well. I choose like a dark colour that sort of suits the rest of it. It's cut mainly like quite a dark turquoise, a dark bluey greeny grey. Blocking out where I want the shadows to go. Messing around, not being too precious with it, just being a bit general, keeping little bits of highlight, slivers of light and stuff like that. And then, yeah, I cover everything I want. It's quite hard on the foliage. I remember talking about this, because, leaves, there's a lot of shadow, a lot of different layers, so it's quite hard to be quite precise with that. So I sort of just do a general shading area. So once I've blocked it all out, I will choose a layer style. Generally it's overlay, sometimes hard light, sometimes soft light, depending on what I want. Overlay is quite a saturated, mid-level shadow. That's why I go for that quite a lot sometimes. It's quite nice, adds a bit of colour. Soft light is quite faded, and then hard light is quite an opaque. But yeah, I think I decided upon an overlay. And basically, I'm done. You can see I've finished the detail, the colour of this cabin. There it is. I've also done the shadow and the lighting. Things might change a little bit. I might end up doing some more detail on, bits below, add more shadow to the bits that are inside the house or under the house, try and make it extra dark. But yeah, that's fundamentally it. You've seen how I go about my process. You can see the quality and the detail of the colour, the colouring process. It takes me quite a while. This, again, yeah, that took me about an hour. So you can see how this me trying to tackle all the leaves and stuff, that's going to take me forever. What I'm going to now do is speed up this whole part. I'm going to speed through it. You now know my process. I hope some of this real-time filming has helped. Again, sorry that I'm now recording over it again. I'm so annoyed that I didn't record the audio. Please forgive me. I'll make sure to try and fix that in the next part. But yeah, the next time I'll be speaking to you, be right at the end where I'm finalizing the lighting and the atmosphere, editing some of the line work. But yeah, I'm going to speed through this next coloring process because this shit just takes too long. I'll see you then. See you in a bit. Thanks. Peace. I'm a simple man, don't wanna complicate ya.
Hi. I don't really know how to tell you this. This next part you're about to see. We're just going to take a break. If you've made it this far, it's a triumph. I recently got a new graphics tablet, and it's really cool, and I'm going to tell you about it more in another video. But what that meant was, when I recorded the screen, for some reason, it seems to have cropped the amount that it was filming of the screen. This video has been a shambles. You can't really even see the important bits. I'm gonna probably skip ahead a few bits. Sorry that you wanted to see this in real time. As you can see, this was a ridiculous one to show you in real time. Otherwise, this video would probably be about 6 hours long. Have a good day. Enjoy. Welcome back. Hi. Hopefully, the audio's improved greatly. I'm really sorry. This is what? Now, this is like day 4. Day 4 or 5 of recording this video. This has been a bit of a test. Don't think I'm going to do another drawing like this. But we're living and we're learning, aren't we? Sorry about the audio back there. That was a bit grim, wasn't it? So let's see what we got. Let's see how the whole image is coming together so far. Spoilers, I'm currently using a new graphics tablet. Gonna probably make a video talking about this more. So anyway, so what we got here, so I'm gonna finish this off. Basically, I'm just gonna be doing shadow in the background and then a bit of lighting. We're gonna see what works, what doesn't. So let's go ahead and try some stuff out. So do we want to fade that line work a bit? Do we want to try multiply? Multiply is pretty cool. Do we want to add in a layer behind this all? Give it a greeny blue like fade. Let's have a look. So I'm just adding a gradient layer here behind this bit. That might work. If we do hard light, that's pretty cool. But do we want it to be dark though? That's the thing. Do we want to darken it? Whoa, multiply. I'm also now, because it's so complicated, I've changed my mind. I was going to go through each layer and add stuff, but because barely any of it is even visible, what I'm going to do is just work on the whole piece. So I'm just adding a layer, and I'm going to just add a few shadowy bits just to see. We might want to make it a little bit misty. I I feel like maybe the most important bit is this front stuff. I will say, well done for watching this video. If you're still here and you're still watching, I commend you. That looks cool already. Yeah, I like it. That mist. Just doing gradients basically, experimenting with the old gradients. To be honest, I quite like how it is. Okay, we're gonna do some more mist way in the foreground. Oh wait, I need to add shadow to this stuff. Adding reflections. Let's add some mist down the bottom. So there we go. We've sort of added shadow. We've added some mist. The last key point for me is to add some lighting. So we're going to see what works. You know, the overall look of the piece. So I'll go for like 2 colors that I'm trying to make the image mostly be of. Cover the whole thing. Give it a soft light. We want this bit of blue. So I'm going to do some more down here. I think this blue is quite nice. We want the light sort of peeking through, so I'm gonna go for like a yellow, maybe a pinky yellow. Like another thing I want to do is sort of just show beams, like some beams. So you know, like I'll get rid of some of this. I might want to blur them a bit more. And we are done. We're done. You've seen the whole process. I don't really know how to end this. Hi there. Just thought I would now video a little recap. Not a recap. I'll show you what I actually just did there. Because why not? You know, you've watched this long. Now you're gonna want to see the whole thing. Here you go. I'll show you what I did. So down the bottom here, you can see. Well, first of all, you can see the layers of lighting. So you know we've got some overlay layers. You know, it's just about the lighting really. Like you know, some people would prefer it just like that. But you know, each to their own, eh? We got some mist down here. So these misty layers are they're just layers of gradients, grey gradients. There you go. Adding to atmosphere, and then you can see the water. The water is just a bunch of different layers of like shadow and objects. Like I've repeated some layers, so I've repeated you know, copied and pasted layers down here that are of like the building. So that's the most obvious one. So I've done a reflection of the building, for example, reflection of the boat and stuff. And that's basically it. You know, I just sort of went over all these bits and bobs down here with shadows, working on the reflection, working on the mist gradients and the lighting, and there you go. This is the finished piece. Ta-da! Hi, welcome to the end screen. I don't know what possessed me to carry on with this video. I don't know why I've uploaded a 45-minute
video to YouTube, documenting the entire process of a drawing. I might try and do one that's quicker and easier and better. I think I know how, but I don't know why I did this. Do you?